So EA dropped their first official gameplay video, not a gameplay trailer, but their first official gameplay video of a head-to-head matchup between Bordeaux and Ryan Williams of Alabama. And I must say, it looked really good. It looked really clean. It looks really smooth. It looks a lot more polished. And that's what a lot of people were talking about with College Football 25. They didn't really have a ton that they had to improve on gameplay-wise and a little bit of presentation-wise. The things they needed to improve on was certain features being added into the game. But man, this game looks a lot more clean, a lot more polished, a lot less of the clunky things that were going on, a lot more realistic animations. It looked really good. And they touched on quite a few things during this gameplay video. They played a couple of matchups. I'm not going to sit up here and play every single matchup straight through, which they didn't play every single matchup straight through. It was like a 20-something minute video. Also, side note, I'm going to put the link to that video in this description box so you can go see the full thing in its entirety, because they had the developers actually speaking on some of the new features and some of the things gameplay wise that was added into the game. And I'm gonna talk about some of those things, but I'm not gonna go over in depth like they did, and I'm probably gonna leave some stuff out. So if you want to get the full gist of those things, just click that link in the description box. They talked about how it's noticeable that there were some new celebrations in the game. And they had mentioned that they flew Ryan Williams down to come record some new celebrations. They have 20 total celebrations, some new, and they also brought back some previous celebrations, some fan favorite celebrations, like the head tap pointing and things of that nature. They also talk about the quarterback revamp as far as the animations are concerned, and how they throw a lot more realistically now. And on that topic, they also talk about the whole QB sightline thing, which we talked about in previous videos on how the QB height means more now than ever. If you have a short QB, if your QB is 5'9" and your guard is 6'6", you can't just sit there in the pocket and make that throw anymore. If you don't have a visible sight line that you can make that throw, those little underneath passes, those drags, you're going to see overthrows and inaccurate passes. Versus if you step up in that sight line where you can make that pass, then you'll be able to throw that pass on the money. But it doesn't matter if your quarterback is short and he's a 90-something overall and the most accurate quarterback in the league. If he doesn't have a clear sight line, he's not going to be able to make an accurate pass, which is realistic as hell. And it's about time they added something like that in the game. They also talk about the whole no eyes, no picks thing that a lot of people were trying to say in the comments that, like, yeah, they talked about this before and blah, blah, blah. They said they were going to bring this up in Madden and blah, blah, blah. And I also saw somebody say, oh, that's not in the game. They talked about that for Madden. They didn't talk about this for this game, and so on and so forth. Well, they talked about that in depth in this video, and you also could see it play out during this game. Like, a lot of those passes would be made over the top with cornerbacks trailing and not being far behind, and you could see the defender trying to press wide to jump up to catch the ball, but they just won't jump up. They'll just reach their hands up. They can't do anything because if they're trailing, they obviously don't have eyes on the ball, so they're not going to be able to make that play. They just talk about how, like, for example, with a 9 route or a go route, when you get the hips turned on the DBs, you want to be able to take that shot without worrying about them being able to jump up and making that Superman Willie Mays type pick. And unless you had a significant speed advantage, you just didn't want to throw that ball because there was a chance it was going to be picked off. Well, now they made it more competitive and more efficient for the person on offense to be able to take those shots without worrying about that happening. So now you truly have to have eyes on the ball before you make those kind of passes. Then they also talk about a more simplified sliding of protection, which I like this because I've had tutorial videos on how to protect, how to slide protection, how to block, in what situations and scenarios, what to do. And now it just seems like they've made it a lot more easier and more simplified for the user to be able to make these adjustments. For example, they talk about if you want to slide protect and say you want to half slide everybody to the right, you just click on the right stick. If you want to do a full slide right, you double click on the right stick and they'll do a full slide, which again, it's a lot more simplified because before you had to click the left bumper or L1 on PlayStation and you'd have to hold it and decide whether or not you wanted to slide left by flicking a right stick left, or if you wanted to slide right by flicking it right, and so on and so forth. And there was different variations you could do that. Now it's simply, if you want to slide protect right, just click that right stick to half slide right and double click that right stick to full slide right. Then they also talk about the improvement in gap integrity. And again, this is something that we've seen in the video, the visuals with the gameplay, where they were trying to run option plays, they were trying to run jet sweeps, and it was just getting stuffed immediately because it's not as easy as it was last year, because defenders know how to fill those gaps and play the run a lot better and play those gadget plays a lot better. So before in 25, where people like to cheese jet sweeps and cheese the option plays, which that was the option plays was a big part of my game in developing Florida Atlantic in my dynasty rebuild, because early on we didn't really have that many great players. So if I couldn't make hot route adjustments or anything of that nature on the road with a sorry team against a big time team like a Oregon or whatever, then I would go straight to the option plays and that would carry me. So they've toned that down with the new gap integrity. So it's going to be a lot more difficult. Rebuilding a trash university is going to be a lot more difficult in 26 now. And I can't wait. Because in my dynasty rebuild, we won a conference championship in year one. I went like 13-2, won against Oregon in the college football playoff in the first round, lost in the second round, and then won every year after that, and only lost like a total of like 2 or 3 games after that for my entire dynasty. So I look forward to it being a lot more of a grind this year. So they also talk about the safety depth, which is something we previously spoken about. And like I said, if you want to hear about them talk about it in depth and see the visualization of them making the adjustments to the safety depth, bringing them in the box, dropping them back deep, making them play closer to the sideline, you can go ahead and click that link in the description box and watch the full video in its entirety. It's like 22 minutes long. They also talked about like auto subs and wear and tear, and they break down in depth amongst other things like stunts and twists. They show all that and they break all that down in depth. So again, it's a 22-minute long video. It's well worth the watch. If you want to take a peek at it, I'll have it linked in the description box. You just got to check it out. It was a really exciting video because you can see the improvement gameplay wise in college football 26. So again, it'll be dropping in a week. Early access, people who have early access will be able to play it noon Monday Eastern time, July 7th. So I can't wait. I'll be in there. I've had mine pre-ordered for ever since they announced the deluxe version with both Madden and college football. So y'all let me know y'all's thoughts and feedback in the comment section. As always, if you're here for the first time or you're returning and you haven't liked or subscribed already, please do so. Click that notification tab so you can stay up to speed with more college football 26 content going forward. Again, I appreciate you all for tuning in. That's been my time. Till next time.